hype. Fragrance hype. It's one of those things where it's just a catch-all word sometimes. Some people like to throw it out and say, that doesn't deserve hype. This does deserve hype. Hype, 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 hype. It gets to be this thing where if you even say you like something, suddenly you're hyping it. Well, guys, I like this pen. It writes pretty well. Quit hyping that pen. It's garbage. Hey, friends. Ash here with Gents. Today, let's talk hype. We're going to talk about 5 fragrances that I think deserve the hype that they got, and then 5 fragrances that maybe deserved a little more than they got. So we've got 2 sides of the spectrum here, 2 sides of the coin. Well, I guess technically it would be 2 sides of the coin if it were 5 fragrances that I think deserved hype and 5 that I think didn't, but we're trying to keep things positive here. Let's jump into it. We'll start with a fragrance that I think deserved the hype, and then one that I think deserved a little more than it got, and we'll just keep going back and forth. All right, first up, fragrance that deserved the hype. Mustache Eau de Parfum. Now, this is most well known as being an alternative to Yves Saint Laurent's Tuxedo, only at a much more affordable price. And that's a pretty good way to think of it. Warm spices and sweetness make up this fragrance, and it smells absolutely stunning for the price point. And on top of it all, you get this fantastic presentation as well. Really heavy glass, looks classy and sophisticated and gentlemanly. The only knock that I have on this fragrance isn't even a knock on the fragrance. It's that it's hard to get sometimes. This is one of those fragrances that constantly and consistently comes into stock and sells out. And it just keeps seesawing back and forth, in stock, out of stock, in stock, out of stock, in stock, out of stock. For me, Mustache Eau de Parfum does everything it says it does, or everything that people have said that it does, we'll say. It's a great fall and wintertime fragrance, especially fantastic during the evening. It's appealing. It doesn't smell cheap at all. It is a wonderful fragrance, and it deserves every little bit of hype that it's gotten. Now, a fragrance that maybe should have gotten a little more love. This is a personal favorite of mine, so I'm biased here, but it's Michael Kors for Men. Not one of the 28,000 extreme flankers that they've come out with, because somebody at Michael Kors thinks that we're still living in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and everything has to be extreme. I mean, I don't know how else you really explain the flankers. Extreme speed, extreme blue. There's also extreme sky, extreme journey, extreme rush. Wait a second. Are these named after rock bands now? Where's extreme Motley Crue? Is that coming out soon? Anyway, before all of those extreme flankers that come and go and people pretty much just forget about them, there was just plain old Michael Kors. Now, this is not the original. That one has the same bottle, basically, only instead of having the writing over here on the side, it's right up here in the middle of the top and just says Michael Kors or Michael, depending on when your bottle was made. Regardless, this and the older Michael Kors smell fairly similar. So this, even though it doesn't have an official tobacco note, does have a tobacco type feel to it. It also has suede and star anise, and it is one of the best overlooked tobacco-ish kind of fragrances for fall and winter that you're ever gonna find. Unfortunately, it's more difficult to find nowadays than it used to be. It was quite easy to find maybe 5 years ago at discounters, and now not as much. But I would put this fragrance right up there with some of the biggest, heaviest hitting designer fragrances based around tobacco notes or tobacco type accords that you can find. Again, even though tobacco is not officially a note, when you smell this, you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, a fragrance that did deserve the hype, Encre Noir. This is a big time love of mine. The price of this is so low at discounters, and then the quality is astronomical for what you pay. Now, this is a dark, rooty vetiver fragrance. It has a lot of cashmere in here as well. Draws comparisons to Sycamore from Chanel's Les Exclusifs line. Some people will say, no, it doesn't smell anything like Sycamore. I think personally it does, and yes, I do own Sycamore, the original Eau de Toilette version. Now, obviously there are differences, and between the two, I'd rather have Sycamore. It does smell of higher quality, but price difference is huge between this and that, and the price difference is much bigger than the quality difference between the two. So if you're talking bang for your buck, Encre Noir is a much better way to go. Encre Noir is one of those very few, very select fragrances that is a cheapie that you could say has niche quality or niche aspects to it, and I believe that fully. Now, a fragrance that maybe deserved a little more love or deserves a little more love. This one is new compared to everything else here. I think it's actually the newest fragrance, and part of that's probably why it hasn't gotten as much love. It's Lalique White and Black. One of the reasons I think this hasn't gotten as much love, well, there are a couple, but one of the reasons is that it's been hard to find in the United States up until this point. You can find it now at Fragrance by about $43, so now you can find it, and it's not too expensive, but up until now, it's been hard. You've had to order it from overseas. The other reason this probably hasn't gotten too much love is it's from Lalique, which is a house that's really mainly known for Encre Noir. Past that, a lot of people don't really give Lalique a whole lot of thought, but you should, because they have some killer scents for the price that you can pick them up for. The quality is typically much higher than you'd expect for the price. Again, from discounters. The performance on this could maybe be a little bit better, but the scent profile is great. It smells a little bit similar to Layton from Parfums de Marly, maybe a touch more powdery, but it's in that style. The Lalique White and Black, I think, is a great under the radar fall and winter time fragrance. Smells stunning. Now, another fragrance that deserves the hype, Neo. Not from the Matrix, but from Xerjoff. Shameless self-promotion, you can buy this from twistedlily.com and save 10% using the code GENTS10. That code GENTS10 is good for the entire website, 10% off the whole thing. Link in the description. So Neo, long before I had it, was always hyped as the pinnacle of citrus, one of the pinnacle fragrances for citrus. So if you love bergamot, if you love green facets and fragrances, then you had to get your nose on it. That's how this was spoken of. Now, it's obviously not just citrus and a green sort of fresh feeling. You've got neroli in here, you have vetiver in the base, a number of other supporting notes, including cardamom, I believe. But this was heralded as like, master perfume. And that's a lot to live up to. There are a lot of fragrances that have been hyped for one reason or another. Then I get my nose on it and I think, yeah, it's good. It's not that good. Neo, though, is one of those fragrances where I smelled it and I just went, oh, yeah, that's worth it. It is still pricey though, obviously it's a Xerjoff and those don't come cheap. And the bottle style has changed as well. This is the older style bottle. Now it's smoother and more rounded off. I heard that the reason they changed out from this bottle style is they were having issues with them getting busted, especially in transit. These corners apparently would get hit and then the whole thing would just kind of cave in on the corner. So they went to a different bottle style. Now a fragrance that maybe deserved a little more love, Cartier L'Envol de Cartier. Now, this is the eau de parfum. There's also an eau de toilette version of this fragrance. And this is one that when it first came out, I immediately bought it, I smelled it, and I wasn't stricken with the fragrance. I didn't fall in love with it right away. And I actually sat it aside and didn't smell it for a while. Until I came back to it, smelled it again, and thought, that's way better than I remember. Now, it's not gonna be for everybody, obviously. This is iris and guaiac wood and honey and violet. So it's a very sweet, floral, slightly powdery type of scent. And it has this bit of woodiness that runs throughout it as well. But it is really, really well done. It's another sophisticated type of scent. And for me, I think that it deserves maybe a little more love. Okay, something else that did deserve the love, Womo Signature from Ferragamo. Unfortunately, this fragrance has been getting a little bit harder to find for quite a while. Ferragamo Womo and Womo Signature, really the whole Womo line, you could find at discounters in that $30 range, 30 to 40, right around there. So what it seems like is as time has gone on, they're sold out with more frequency. So it used to be, if they sold out at FragranceNet or wherever, they would be sold out for only a short amount of time and they'd be back in stock. And then instead of being sold out for only a couple days, now it's like, oh, a couple weeks. And then sold out again, only this time for a couple months. Not great. So this one has tonka, leather, roast coffee, cinnamon, cardamom, pink pepper. It takes Ferragamo Womo and it amps up the masculinity a little bit. You know, not as much of a focus on that sweet tiramisu. Instead, the coffee here is roasted and you're getting that sweetness from other places like that sweetened kind of cinnamon and of course the tonka. The performance, really big here, lasts forever, projects heavily. It is amazing in the cold. This thing is a huge compliment puller. And when it was available for that price, $30, $40, it was an unbelievable steal. So it absolutely deserved all the hype that it got. And even now, like if you had to buy it at retail, I think it's still worth it. So that really shows how good it was when you could get it at that lower price. Then a fragrance that needs a little more love. Not that it doesn't get any love at all, it's just it's overshadowed by other fragrances from the same house. It's Eau Duel from Diptyque. Diptyque is a favorite niche house of mine for niche fragrances that give you great bang for the buck, even at retail. Diptyque is not super expensive, but the fragrances 9 times out of 10 are done very well. So this one has juniper, it has vanilla, which is going to be one of the main focal points of the fragrance, along with spices and elemi. It has this dry woodiness, this dry vanilla that smells great and gives you kind of a different take on vanilla that you don't get as often nowadays. So with this house, as I mentioned, some of the ones that really get hyped are going to be like Tam Dao or Philosopos and things like that. Those are really the ones that are right at the top. But then if you look just below those really big hype monsters, you're gonna find some fragrances that can stand toe to toe with those scents, and I think this is one of them. Like a lot of these fragrances, actually the overwhelming majority of them, it's a fall and wintertime scent, and if you're into dry woody vanillas, check this one out. It's also got a smokiness to it as well. All right, last fragrance that deserves the hype, Nuit d'ici Noir Argent from Issey Miyake. It's got leather, myrrh, olive, saffron, grapefruit, some of the notes in the fragrance, bit of patchouli as well. And this carries on the tradition of Issey Miyake making absolutely killer cool weather fragrances. Other fragrances from Issey Miyake, if you can find them, that are worth picking up are Pulse of the Night, Polaris is really good as well, Noir Ombre, or Encens. All of those are great. I would say hype-wise, especially Pulse of the Night, or Encens, and Noir Ombre are considered, toward the top of Issey Miyake, but this one, a lot of people would put right up alongside those, or just behind. You're getting a whole lot of bang for your buck here. Performance is great. The quality is fantastic, and the price is really not that bad either. It's not super cheap from discounters, but it's still going to be usually under $70. Like I said, not really cheap, but when you smell this, the quality is something that you feel like could be $140, $150, and you wouldn't really blink. Like if you took that and dropped it into a different bottle from a different brand and marked up the price, a lot of people probably wouldn't bat an eye. So Noir Argent, Issey Miyake, cool weather, stunner. Last fragrance that deserved a little more hype, a little more love is from Carolina Herrera, and it's Under the Sea. Yeah. This one, look at that bottle. A little bedazzled lobster that looks like it should be on some grandma's sweater. This is, though, in my opinion, easily the best of this line, this limited edition line where they switched up CH Man and started wrapping them in these velvet bottles and putting a tacky little front on it. Under the Sea is the best. It's better than Beasts, it's better than Kings, and it's really not close. It's got cashmere sea notes, vanilla, violet, and a bit of juniper as well. It's really versatile. It's people pleasing. It's a wonderful fragrance for spring and summer. Great daytime scent as well. The performance on it is all right. It's not too bad. And it's a limited edition, which is going to be harder to get as time goes on. So there's a lot to like about this thing. One way you could think of it is a bit similar to CH Beasts, which is right back here, but it does everything that fragrance does, only twice as good. Now, some people may not agree with me on that one, but I do think it's considerably better. It's a fresh aquatic fragrance with woodsy undertones, a little bit of a green edge, and a good amount of vanillic sweetness. It's a fragrance that lots of people would write off just because of this bottle, which is not a good bottle at all. And maybe the name, some people would think of the Little Mermaid, but the fragrance, it's actually not bad at all. All right, guys, I was supposed to go quick and not talk much, and 25 minutes later, I'm done. Thank you guys for hanging with me. Thank you for staying until the end. Stay safe out there, and I'll see you tomorrow with another fragrance video. See you guys.